Hello there, citizens. I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am the floaty that will not flush no matter how many times you try in the toilet bowl of crime. I am Darkwing Duck, telling you please, talk hard and enjoy the mindgasm. Whatever the heck that means. After all, you are watching Intellectual Podcast with your ears.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 205th episode of the Intellectual Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Dawson, and we've got a very cool episode for you today with writer-director Aimee Greenberg of Fruitless Moon Theater Works. Aimee is the director of Miss Whitney Wegman in a new play called American Carnage, a love story, coming to you at City Heights Performance Annex on November 10th through 26th. You can get more information about that play at fruitlessmoontheaterworks.org. You can also get tickets at fruitlessmoon.ticketleap.com. We talk with Aimee about her background in theater and art in New York and her kind of circuitous travels that brought her all the way to San Diego. It's a very entertaining conversation with a very eclectic and interesting woman, and I think you're going to enjoy it very much. I am on the road until mid-December, so all these episodes are going to be mixed and brought to you from various points in Texas and Louisiana, but I promise to keep bringing you episodes every week. We recorded a bunch of them ahead of time, so I've got really good content from a bunch of really great people coming at you in the coming weeks. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get on it. Here is Aimee Greenberg on the 205th episode of the Intellectual Podcast.
Talk hard and enjoy the mindgasm. The Intellectual Podcast starts now.
So Whitney, you're in the driver's seat on this one.
Oh, I'm in the driver's seat.
Yeah, your guest, your host.
Okay.
She's also in the show, so.
We are here today with writer and director Aimee Greenberg. How are you today, Aimee?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. So,
Whitney's very formal with the podcast. I'm way more informal about it.
I keep you to task.
Somebody has to be. It's like Howard Stern and Robin, huh?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. I start to get vulgar, and she's like, dial it back. Okay.
Do you edit any of this, or it's just like...
Very rarely. Very rarely.
It is what it is, right?
It is what it is.
It goes to...
Occasionally a guest will be like, hey, can you go back and... I said something that I think will get me in trouble.
Yeah.
And I'll take something out if somebody specifically requests it.
But not if someone just
sometimes it's disappointing when they
thoughts.
ask for it.
Yeah, because that was good. You were thinking, that was really good.
You know?
Yeah.
Those are the real moments.
But we never, the point of the podcast isn't ever to get anybody in any kind of trouble or create any controversy for them.
Right.
We just want to get to know people, find out what makes them tick, why they do what they do, why they've chosen a creative life.
Or the creative life has chosen them.
Or the creative life has chosen them, exactly. So it's, it is what it is. Generally, we don't edit anything. It's like a straight 45 minutes to an hour, and
interesting. I like that. That. Well, that's my motto this month and the last month. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
That was my dad's motto. Like, it was like a big portion of my obituary for my dad was about his motto that it is what it is.
That's funny because on my dad's tombstone we had written gravestone on strong of heart, made of iron, because he always used to say, you got to be made of iron to put up with these kids. So, made of iron,
So getting to the heart of, what we do here on this show, as David said, tell us about your creative life. What drew you to being in the theater?
Oh, my. I have to go back, turn the pages back. Well, I think that I found community in theater as a young person, middle school, high school. I tended to be a loner and had a relatively challenging childhood emotionally. Lost my mother at a young age and blah, 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 other drama. And, I just found that I could make those connections and transfer feelings and have some sort of cathartic relationship with a creative medium. And I really liked it. And I continued to be in theater. And then when I went to college initially, I thought, I really like marine biology too. And that's more practical. And so I started to veer in that direction and then went back to theater. So
the luring of practicality.
Yeah. I mean, I was always a writer too, and a poet, and creative, but academic as well. So I remember growing up, I was slotted as the academic one, and my sister was the creative one. And it was, wait a minute, well, that's not totally true. Because
Right.
I did better in school. So you just get put in your little like cubicles.
Nothing's ever black or white, right?
Right, exactly.
You said you were a bit of a loner when you were a kid and you kind of gravitated towards theater. When I was young, I was very much a loner, and I got into sports. Like that was kind of the driving thing initially to try and help me figure out how to fit in.
Right.
And I played soccer for years and years and years. And even though I was part of a team and whatnot, never quite felt any different. Like I still felt like a loner.
Right.
Regardless of being in this group. And
Right.
I didn't find theater until my senior year. And I found once I got into theater, suddenly I found like an acceptance that I hadn't felt anywhere else. Was it like that for you with theater? Like that was where you found a place?
Yeah, you could be whoever you were, and I think the theater world picks up, the misfits, the transients, the square pegs, all of
Right.
that. And that was refreshing and really cool. And, yeah, it was great. And when I was in New York, which is where I'm from, but I went to school briefly up in Buffalo. So that's New York, but it doesn't count. It's such a strange place. It's such a strange place. And I was there at the worst snow season
Strange, cold
ever,
place. Yeah.
where like your eyelashes would clump together and you couldn't get into your car, and you'd be like in these tunnels with the drifts that were 40 feet high. And I got so depressed. I was like, I can't stay here. But anyway, sidetrack. So I remember just being in college and, even briefly in Long Island where I was raised, and I had access to these teachers that had these connections that were extraordinary, and people from Europe and masters, and, so that was like awesome too. It was like, oh my God, I'm going to this little school. It's just a transition. And yet these amazing teachers are here with an incredible resume. And, so in answer to your question, yeah, I really was, thrilled to be in a place where you felt like you weren't so different and unusual, because everybody was in some way,
What aspect of being in theater appealed the most to you? Was it acting? Was it tech?
I started acting, and I think that appealed the most to me for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was like the direct conduit to being a vehicle for channeling expression, and the thrill of taking on another character and being yourself, but not being yourself. And, that is kind of like an addiction, and it's, I used to say that like acting was like jazz and writing was like classical music, and, so I was very drawn to acting. But when I was training, one of my teachers said to me, you're also a director, and I was like, no, I'm not, So it was like when my dad used to say, yeah, you're an actor, but you're a writer, and the power of the pen, and I was like, no, I'm just going to be an actor. Everyone just let me be an actor, it's not the hardest thing, but I'm going to be an actor. So, but it's funny how things come around, and, I wound up writing my own stuff and directing, and, these little seeds that people plant that you kind of push away when you're younger, they return, they manifest in some way, because I eventually found that I wasn't comfortable in the skin of actor as, supplicant, actor as someone who waits to get cast, actor as someone who, pounds the pavement and looks for the agent, in the city. It got to me after a while. It was like, how can one keep doing this and have a creative voice? And, is there something else, than it's just like total, audition, rejection, get something, wait, call back, that the whole life. And in New York City, it was rough. You know, I mean, it was great because you get incredible training. And my work ethic developed there, which is unlike other places. But, what? You know, I just found like after a couple of very, very close, very big breaks, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a big fish in a small pond. And I moved to Seattle, and that's what I did for a few years.
How'd you like Seattle?
I loved it. I mean, you know, I got bored because I have wanderlust and gypsy in me. So I did so much, like coming from New York, you just have this brand. And I was in my 20s and it was, you know, like, oh, you're from New York. So I worked nonstop. And I worked in film because they were shooting a lot in Vancouver. And I taught. I was an artist in residence. It was great. And that is when I started developing my own voice and started creating one-woman shows and then larger shows and, you know, getting grants for that. So that's where that germ, you know, that seed was planted and developed. But I stayed there for 3 years and I think I've done everything I want to do here. And I moved to LA, you know, thinking I was going to go back into film more, but I wound up starting a theater company and working a little bit in film. But, you know, so it's just like, you think, and, you know, then you wind up doing other things. But
how was your theater experience in Los Angeles?
You know, I loved it. Like a lot of people that go to LA from New York or, well, that's a whole different story. We used to call them the tanning. They would come back. They'd be bi-coastal and they'd come back tanner and tanner each year. And we'd just say they lost more brain cells, you know, and it was like they'd go out for a toilet bowl cleaner commercial and they'd come back and do some serious training and something had shifted, you know, it's like, you're not there anymore. But anyway, sidetrack tangent. I had a good experience in LA. I found great people and I was able to do, you know, what I think part of me loves best, which is creating a lab, you know, with people that you like and trust. And, you know, you all have each other's back and you know them and they know you and you develop work and you develop, you know, your techniques and inspiration from other mentors that I had. And you just work until you're ready to perform. It's not about like, oh, I have 4 weeks to slam something up. It's, you know, let's evolve a piece and see however long it takes us. Everybody has some other job, so they're certainly not dependent on it financially. So I had that there and I loved it. And I was able to go to Europe and Asia, Russia, which is part of Europe really, but and with people, without people and, you know, and do the work that I was doing. I really loved it. I know that people have different experiences, even people locally in San Diego. You know, some of them go to LA and it's really rough for them and they can't find a theater community and they wind up coming back, you know. So, but I had it. You have to find your people there and your niche. It's so big and vast, you know.
I find oftentimes it's managing your expectations when you move someplace new about how fast you expect things to develop,
right?
And exactly how you think they should develop. Because nothing ever develops the way you planned it to.
Yeah,
and it seems to me to be the people who are capable to go someplace and just go with that flow and find what works in that city as that city shows it to them.
Right,
do best.
Right.
Go with a like definitive plan. This is what I'm going to do, and it's going to take I'm going to be doing this for 3 months, and then in 6 months I'll be doing that. Right. Those
your 5-year plan.
Yeah, those are the ones who tend to go to someplace like LA and come back a little bit later, kind of crushed by the experience.
Crushed and really disappointed. I mean, I didn't expect to be doing theater in LA. I expected to do film, and I did a little film, and I just was sort of so that's how it happened. And
it sounds like the gypsy in you allows you to just kind of navigate as life happens.
Yeah, I reinvent myself, I think, often. And I also was lucky. Like in Seattle, I was there it was like the golden age of theater when I was there. You know, I don't think it's the same anymore. In New York, I was at the tail end of, I'm not that old, but, the avant-garde experimental theater era there that, Sam Shepard was part of, and Patti Smith and Jean-Claude Van Natali. So, I was like not with them, but like right after them, so it's timing. And then there was a great period of my career that I was able to write grants, which I self-taught grant writer, and get them, and it was just like, oh my God, this is great. Like I'm living off of money that people are giving me and teaching.
That's a hell of a talent.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people talk about
hard.
getting grants, but they never are able to either do it or stay disciplined enough to get through the process.
Yeah, it's hard. And some of them are really long. And, you have to kind of analyze them, for what they are looking for and kind of adapt, to the language of what they're looking for and actually make it real. So when you get the money, you have to deliver. You have to deliver. And I was on like a lucky streak, and, I was just, this is wonderful. I was just really great, and I would research them and get them. And, one day someone called me and said, I had applied for it. I must have. I don't know if I remember though, but they woke me up and said, this is the Asian Cultural Council. We liked your application. We like the things that you've done, and we like the work that you've done with special populations and theater. And, they asked me a bunch of questions, and they said, you're a candidate. And then like a week later, I got a call saying, okay, you're going to go to Japan, and we're going to give you like $20,000. And this is like 1994. And you're going to go to Japan for like 4 months. We're going to give you some names, but basically you're on your own. And you're going to, study theater and dance there and perform and see a lot of art and a lot of theater and do what you want. And I was like, it was the most open-ended gift of money I'd ever gotten. And it was really scary. And they said, you're going to be very scared, but you're going to realize a few years later, or maybe 6 months later, or a month after you come home, that this is like the best thing that ever happened to you, And it was. I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing because it made sense with what I had done before and what had come before and what I was influenced by, so it was an easy transition for me. It was really difficult, though, not speaking the language, never, after 4 months being able to pick up more than a few phrases, being a bull in a china shop because, it took that long for me to realize, oh, I get it. I get this culture. Okay. They wear masks. They wear masks in theater, and they wear masks in daily life. Yeah. And you just have to know what mask you put on when, so it was an awesome experience though. And I was really fortunate because I was with a lot of people that were working their butts off to teach English, to stay there and do what I was doing, So I felt very fortunate not to have to work while I was there, but I was working, but and what I love. So, right. And I got to interview like these masters. Most of them are dead now, but that was also really cool. I got to plant rice on this rice farm, dance, Butoh farm, with this Min Tanaka, this legend. So he like works with people and the kinds of breaks their body down from the exhaustion of working a farm and planting rice. And then through that is the creation of their dance theater. So I got to stay there for, like 4 days and plant rice. And that was, it sounds so, you planted rice. I mean, it was really hard. And people walk around with complete tabletop bodies from planting rice their whole life. But, I got to a point from the physical intensity of everything I was doing that one day I saw, this is so abstract, but like I was walking down the stairs in the subway and I saw my body like detach, so I had like two of me walking down the steps. And it was just because I'd gone to this place where my body had been trained in such an intensive way that I was all physical. So and I saw the image of my head just kind of like, I didn't need the head anymore. Like very odd. I know I
think that's fabulous because I've actually been working with Terry Ross here in town on continuity of movement for Terry. Film actors. And one of the things that is very clear to me is a lot of us are very unaware of what our body is and what the mechanics of it are on a regular basis.
Right.
And how do you train yourself to become aware of that?
Right. Right.
The only way to do that is to get in and do something wildly physical, and then kind of become aware of all the minute things that hurt. And I didn't know I had a muscle there, you know? My soccer training gave that to me before I ever got into acting and performing. Right. So I've kind of been just more aware of my body than a lot of my colleagues have been over time. But teaching this class recently, it's like come all back to the forefront. Like we have to find ways to teach actors to connect to their bodies in ways that aren't normal. Right. You know, when you spend your day living in a city like San Diego, I mean, how often do you really push your body to do anything, you know,
except getting in the car?
It's just, you know, getting in the car, which is sitting. Right. You know, working on your computer, which is sitting. Right. Going out to eat, which is sitting. You know, we do a lot of sitting. And I think we become unaware of what our body's capable of doing, let alone knowing how to make it do things.
Right. It's true.
So that's really cool. The idea of like, oh, here, go do some manual labor that was kind of normal for people to do for a really, really long time in human history. Right. And reconnect with what your body can do. Yeah. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. There's a degree of disconnect too, you know, because you do all your actor homework, like, okay, these are my intentions and, you know, the Stanislavski based things, which are great. But I often tell my students, you can't show all of that homework you did. There has to be something externalized, which is where the body comes into play. So it's paramount that we understand where we are in space and what we can do with this, because this is all we got.
Right. Yep. This and our voice. So we are. And, you know, our life, our history, right?
Which are all connected holistically. Right. Like you can't really separate brain from voice from body. It's all part of one thing.
True.
Yeah, but you can kind of single out parts of it.
Yeah, you can highlight them. Yeah. But I would say that they're still always working in unison. I mean, think of how your voice gets whenever you're like fatigued from flu, even though it's not.
Yeah, but I think what makes somebody a really good actor is they actually pay attention to what their neck does and what their throat does when they're sick, so they can draw back on it. Whereas the casual person who's not trained to think of that aspect of it, they just suffer through it and they're miserable and they give no thought to what all the mechanics are of what they're going through.
Yeah, I've done some of my best performances sick as a dog. I mean, because I'm so open, so vulnerable, and I always panic. But then it's like, oh, okay, you know, because the defense is like, you don't have any, you know.
Yeah, we did our 200th podcast as a live stream on Facebook. And I was sick as a dog when we went to do it. I had a head cold and I thought for sure it was going to show. Yeah. And everybody I talked to said they couldn't tell that I was sick at all.
Yeah, you rise to the occasion.
Because I've got the persona that I put on when I'm on stage. And I just tapped my body into the muscle memory I've created for how I behave when I'm hosting.
Right.
And I was able to work past being sick.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I have made conscious choices, you know, because when I host, it's like acting, you know, when I'm on stage hosting something or on TV hosting something, it's a role I'm playing. It's not David Dawson. It's David S. Dawson. And he does very specific things, you know.
David S.
So it was easy to get past being sick because David S. Dawson wasn't sick.
Right.
You know.
So the birth of David's multiple personalities.
Yeah, right.
Oh no, this is just the latest in a run.
Yeah.
The committee up here is always finding new members.
So, Aimee, you were living in LA. You had your theater up there. What brought you to San Diego?
Oh, that's always the question. I don't know. It's not surfing and it's not craft beer.
It's the Cali burrito.
We try to you try to define a city by one word. Eat, Pray, Love. She talks about that, and I was like, God, where am I living? Surf, you know, it's just not that I have anything against surfers, but I would love to have a better word, but
it's unfair though to use surf as the primary thing here because we got a lot of cowboys and stuff in San Diego too.
True.
It's true.
Cowboy.
Yeah.
East County.
I just like laid back.
Laid back.
To me,
chill.
Chill.
Yeah. Chill. No worries.
That's
it's
San
all
Diego.
good.
Everybody's
it's not all good. What do you mean it's all good?
It's just kind of like, yeah, it's all fine. You know? It's as close to island mentality on the mainland as I think you can get.
Right. So I came down here the first time in like 1994, something like that. And giving away all my history. I was asked to come down and take over for someone at a college whose career was taking off in film, and they needed a full year, full-time, part-time, full-time temporary replacement. So, and then I taught at State with Terry, and I taught at UCSD and Cal State San Marcos, which is where I had this main position. So, and I was working at Sushi, which was around here, Sushi Visual and Performing Arts, which had a really great history in San Diego, and then died and then came back. And it was a place for new work, visual art, dance, performance. So I did 2 or 3 shows, new works there. And it was pretty cool, and I met my husband here, and then, it's a long story, but we got married, and I got pregnant, and we were living in Vista, and I always like to say it like that.
Up near my neck of the woods.
Yeah. Well, we were living next to someone who is a very religious, born-again Christian, and he had like scripture on his gate, and he called me a Satan worshiper because I used to practice Dark Moon of Lilith in the backyard, and I was doing a Butoh workshop in the empty lot next door, and he came out and started playing guitar, and so anyway, there was that, and there was like the manic depressive clown and his wife, and there was the auto place and people living out of a bus. It was like a little residential piece of heaven amidst all this bizarre world. And I said, I'm not raising a kid here. I'm not even walking a stroller down the block. So we moved back towards north, towards LA, because he was still working here. And anyway, he became president of this company, which he's no longer. But so we moved back down. So that's how I got back down here. So I wasn't going to do that, but I did.
I feel like you should write a play about your neighborhood that you used to live in.
Yeah.
Right.
What interesting characters.
Oh, that was really, really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, that was bizarre. Mm-hmm. And I used them in a play, but yeah, there's always a play about the play, or a play about the life, or like this play I'm doing now. I definitely have a play about the play in mind, or a stand-up comedy routine. I've done stand-up, and I might go back, like, just to talk about this experience, but not in this town, because, I can't use names, but just, just because it's been like a real whirlwind, but it's also good. It's good. Out of that came, the phoenix rises from the ashes, and I think we have the people that we were meant to have, and it's just the way things work sometimes. But.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that play. So, American Carnage, a love story.
Right.
What inspired it? Where did you start with creating this piece?
Well, I love the term American Carnage because our, current president
so present.
Has used the word. He used it at the inauguration. We have to stop this American Carnage. And I was like, what a great title. What an awful way and context to use this on, right in front of your predecessor. But I thought it was
very carefully chosen.
Yeah.
Not a fan of the predecessor.
I know.
The whole presidency, I think, was based on that.
Right. Yeah, and the violence and the American carnage of our streets. But I just thought it's a great combination of 2 words. I love the way they sound in my mouth,
Right.
So that's how that started, just in terms of the title. And this past year, as for many people in the blue states, it was very traumatic, and it seemed like one bizarre, surreal event happening, after another, like, or juxtaposed with each other, or overlaid and overlapping with each other, and it was just insanity. So I had like a lot of inspiration just from that. And then I was just getting these images, and that's how things usually happen with me. Like, I'll just get one image. Sometimes I'll get the opening image of a piece, and it just grows from that. So I had this idea, which I've had before, about, deliberate genocide of communities, and, futuristic world where there's where there's, the dystopian environment where there's a certain ruling class and then the fringe people and, and mass sterilization and all those things. And climate change really also was influencing it. And the fear of these events one after another, worse and worse, made me think of things. And I just started writing on the whiteboard, all of the images that were coming to me and characters and scenes and, not really scenes actually, but it was more like it would start with the image and some characters. And then I just started writing. So
So I'm really curious, the feel of this play, it's very postmodern. It reminds me a lot of Carol Churchill, and a lot of people are used to narrative, linear, realism. How do you even begin to write something that's not in that traditional structure? Because obviously this style just sort of structure, what? Gone.
Right.
How do you?
You have to create a structure within the chaos, My favorite acting teacher, Wynn Hanman, who was side by side with Sandy Meisner, who was also my favorite, said, ballast yourself in reality, then take off. And I never forgot that. I said it to everyone, not just me, but it makes so much sense. And, you have to know the classics. You have to know realism. You have to know Stanislavski's method and Meisner's method and modern theater and, Miller and Williams and O'Neill. You have to know that. And you really have to know technique and style. And then you can deconstruct, you can take that well-made play and you can break it up, you can do whatever you want. You just have to know what you're breaking up, right? So,
it's like that old phrase, you have to know the rules first and then you can break them.
Right, right, exactly. So that, I started there in realism, and I went full circle and I rejected it ultimately. I took words as, not the main driving force for narrative and all these other components. So very postmodern. So all these components are equal to or greater than the whole, the gestalt, which text, movement, sound, masks, puppets, multimedia, visuals, that there isn't one thing that's more important than the other. Mm-hmm. And, so I that was the sort of genesis of me and my work and my voice. And then I came back a little to realism, actually, when I came to San Diego and I said, after my first stint here and no more sushi, I said, no one's going to like that stuff that I used to do. I was like, okay. So I did an original adaptation of Peter Pan, the dramatic form. I did Midsummer Night's Dream. I did one of my favorite plays, which I think is everything. It is my favorite 20th century play, Waiting for Godot, which is surreal and is nonlinear and is absurd and is language based, all of that. So, and then I said, I'm going to do what I want to do again. I'm going to just try it. I know this isn't a big town for this kind of work. I may not get anyone who comes, but I'm going to try it. So did that answer your question?
Yeah,
kind of?
I mean, I love that you brought up Beckett because earlier, whenever you were talking about how this year sort of threw you into this trajectory of writing this and all the surreal, absurd moments, I'm like, Beckett would be proud. And then you brought him up and it's like, these types of plays, these evocative plays, I think are totally appropriate for the time period in which we're living because there is a lot of we just have all of this tension
angst.
And emotion and angst. Yeah. And the outlet, it's I could go watch a, narrative story and whatever I'm feeling at the moment, but it doesn't quite strike at what I'm feeling at this moment. Right. And I think the absurdist, surrealist, postmodern style, it hits more at what is happening in reality. Right.
Yeah, I agree. And I was very influenced by Beckett and Shepard and Pina Bausch and who else? Carol Churchill. I saw all her early work. Robert Wilson. I'm a big fan of Robert Wilson, but it's hard to sell that kind of theater, for sure. I think in other places too, but, We'll see. I mean, I've never really been one for conventional stuff, So I've taken like the road less traveled in that. So,
Is that a factor of like you're not overly concerned about what your audience wants? You just want to make what
I mean, I think that's
first?
Me. I don't do like particularly commercial work. I don't write commercial pieces, I mean, I've had like agents say to me, you are an extraordinary writer. I would love to represent you, but you need to just be a little more commercial. I mean, it's like, oh, okay. What do you want me to write? What do you want me to write? So like, how do you take that voice and make something a little more commercial? But, I mean, to my detriment, I don't write for an audience,
Yeah.
Probably.
I get accused of not satisfying what people want to see out of me too. Our more popular films have been our comedies, I guess.
Right. But
they're not the films that interest me to make.
As we established, you're the sad guy director.
I'm the sad guy director in town,
Yeah.
You want someone weeping and grieving, like, I'm your guy. Let's do it.
Right.
Those are the stories I want to tell. I don't care if the audience wants to hear them.
Yeah.
They're ones I'm going to be on because I find them more challenging than doing the comedies. The comedies seem easier to me, and I just...
And comedy's hard. And, we all know that, comedy comes from reality and pain, right? Good comedy. But, I don't know. There's something about absurdism that can be really funny. But,
it took me so
like Godot
long.
Is hilarious. There's a lot of humor in that play,
It took me a really long time to appreciate absurdism. Like, I had seen Endgame like 3 times. Hated it the first few times that I saw it. And then I had to do this huge, long project about Samuel Beckett. And after getting a little of his background and understanding what he was striving to do to the audience, I saw another version of Endgame. And it was at a community theater out in Virginia. And it was fantastic. Changing your perspective changes your enjoyment, for sure. So having a little bit of a view into that helps.
He said, fail again, fail better. I think I have it right, the sequence, but so if he can say that, then I can fail, Yeah.
Well, we say it on the podcast all the time. Failing is one of the powerful tools you have. You're not growing and you're not learning unless you're putting yourself out there to fail at stuff.
Right.
And I guess that's kind of my thing is like, I'd rather put the things out there that are challenging to me and fail at it than, get the cheap laugh that I know I can get.
Right.
It doesn't, there's no challenge for me in that. And that if I'm not challenging myself, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
That's kind of the attitude I have. It sounds like you have much the same.
I think so.
Mentality.
So my, moments where I'm in despair about, oh my God, why am I doing this? What's going to happen? Is anyone going to come? This is awful. I'm having a panic attack. Yeah.
We're mid-process of this play, so panic attacks, on the daily.
Right.
Well, for everyone who is interested in coming to see this play, where and when can they see it?
It is running November 10th through the 26th, Thursdays through Sundays, except Thanksgiving Day, at the City Heights Performance Annex.
I'm so incredibly bummed I'm going to miss it because I'm working in Texas the entire month of November.
Oh, that is a shame.
I won't be in town. So.
We'll film it for you. Not that it'll be the same, but...
No, but I wouldn't mind watching.
Yeah. Fairmont Avenue. I forgot the exact address, but...
and I believe tickets can be purchased through Ticket Leap, right?
Right. fruitlessmoon.ticketleap.com for now. And of course
we'll
at the
add
door.
Link to that into the show notes for this show. So
okay.
Anybody listening who wants to grab a ticket, the link is on our webpage.
Yeah.
You'll be able to go grab yourself some seats.
Is there anything else I should say about it?
That's up to you. Whatever you want to say about it.
Let me see. Let me look at the press release, and it's so organic, isn't it?
More and more people are showing up with notes. Don't feel bad.
I was expecting. Sometimes I was telling Whitney. Whitney's in it, by the way. She plays Dodie, the daughter of Caligula. Yes, Caligula. Anyway, it pulls back the curtain on a future where high technology manifests organically within manufactured beings. And I wanted to introduce this main character, YML, which stands for Young Male Lead. I thought that was kind of tongue-in-cheek. And he's
very millennial.
Very. And he's from an evolved species, so he's a hybrid. He's part Octobot, part human. And he kind of is an experiment that's gone wrong a little bit. And he gets accidentally exposed to echoes of the prior millennium in popular culture, and it really starts to change him. And he gets affected by, sights and sounds and smells, and his human side just grows and grows, and he falls in love with someone from the Badlands, which, the outsiders, which, they are killing off slowly. And contrast to that dystopian world is the leader, the maniacal leader, Caligula, and his daughter Dodie, and they are more representative of cultures past. And eras from before, hence Caligula, Roman emperor. So they're very theatrical and different as compared to the dystopian world and the Badlands world. So we have this tale of alternate worlds examining the idea of what it means to be human, and where the boundaries when senses have been removed. What happens? Can experimental beings cross over to a world of feeling in a society where they don't have feelings? So that's my little plug.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, it's trying to be fascinating. I think it will be. I mean, I'm too close to it, so I have to get to that point, and I have that burden of having written it and directing it.
I know that burden.
Producing it, and I have a little part in it, which I'm like the ghost of this person that is yet to appear in rehearsals, but I'm going to one day. Woman one. So I'm actually the thread of the past that comes back to talk about the floods and, the day of the floods and the day that the last tree was taken away, and clouds and, the end of clouds as we knew them. And so
it's your memory. Yeah.
I'm like the echo, the earth echo, So I don't know. It's just an interesting pastiche and hodgepodge, and I'm being self-effacing.
How are you enjoying it, Whitney?
I'm enjoying it quite well. It's very interesting. I've gotten to use a lot of my clown training in various aspects, and definitely a lot of physical training. So, that's where I like to play anyway.
Her face is all lit up. You can always tell. You can always tell when Whitney's actually enjoying something because her face gives it all away.
Yeah. She's a bright light.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And has been very good at stepping in and at short notice and learning things, which, I knew that you would be.
Thank you.
Having worked with her myself a few times, she's a delight to work with. So.
Yeah. She is.
Stop, guys. You're making me blush. No, but I've been having a lot of fun. I know sometimes I'm just quietly, I get very quiet on set and in rehearsal because I'm just kind of focusing and absorbing. And, but yeah, it's been really enjoyable. And I do very much appreciate how physical this has been, because there's 3 different characters that I get to strongly differentiate. And we are doing a lot of mask work, which goes right into comedian clown. And I'm like, yes, I can live in this world. I understand this.
Yeah, it's true. You are doing three different characters. Yeah.
Yeah.
White woman.
Oh, well,
Dodie.
technically 4 if we differentiate her from Dodie. Magician's assistant.
True.
The pig people.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys want to come see pig people in a dystopian future, you should really check out this show.
My God, why do I have to be in Texas? This sounds like.
Are you
right
sure you can't come for one performance or?
I might be able to fly back for a day. I don't know.
That'd be great.
I'll have to take a look at the calendar.
We just keep on throwing these things out there, and people are like, okay.
I'm so intrigued. I just have to go see it now. That's amazing. How long does it take you to from initial thought to like a script that you feel like you're ready to produce?
Well, this was really down and dirty, you know, like from the initial thought to sitting down in the, you know, a few lines on paper at the end of the winter, and then spring I got a little more serious, and the summer I cranked it out, which, you know, I mean, I have like I think the final of the latest of the final, which I can't really monkey with that much longer just for time, but I think it's version 16A, you know, so it's the first time out the gate, you know, can I rewrite, and, you know, will there be another version? Probably, you know?
Yeah.
So it's one of those when you say like something that's ready to produce. I mean, there are people that will not bring a work onto the stage until it's had 500 readings, you know?
Right.
I'm typically not one of those people, but you do put yourself really square out there on the target when you put something new out there like that, you know, that for the first time, you know, and I did it a few years ago with a piece called Light Falling Down, which was inspired by 5 years of interviews with female Holocaust survivors in the Southern California area. Yeah, it was very serendipitous. I kept meeting them. They kept telling me their story. I didn't ask for their stories. And, you know, I was like, this is like a strange gift, and I'm going to just go with it, and was going to make it a radio piece. And then it just became a play. But, and it had 2 readings. But, you know, by the time it was produced, I felt like afterwards and during to some extent, you know, that there were changes that needed to happen that, you know, why didn't they happen for this production? And I was also trying to do something specific. I had 2 different worlds completely in the play, like contemporary suburbia and Poland 1940, you know, so Poland 1940 was very expressionist, very dark, very shadowy, miming of props, and, California suburbia was like David Hopper, a lot of bright light, a lot of props, you know. So they were really like 2 different plays in one. And that's what I wanted to do. But of course, I got like sort of crucified for that, you know. Oh, these are 2 different plays, you know. Right. But that's what I wanted to do. You know, I was trying to put 2 things together that don't really fit. But there was a connection in why we were in suburbia. And, you know, how this Polish woman meets another Polish woman, and, you know, there's a long story that happens, you know. So anyway, it's just an interesting thing of when something is ready, and when, you know, and ask playwrights and they'll just tell you like how many versions they write. And by the time it gets to dramatist play group or whatever, you know, whoever produces it, is it ready? I mean, you know, when, you know, is there another version that they come back with, or, you know, I don't know. It's really a hard subject. I've looked at some of the scenes now and gone, well, you know, is it ready? Should this be more written? Is this underwritten? Because most of the scenes are very short and they're very film-like in that way, you know, 2 characters, a lot of them. And you have to come in at like, you know, the top of your game so that, you know, you're there, you hit your mark and you're done, you know.
Right.
Because when you look at the words, sometimes there, you know, there can be very like poetic and literary allusions and devices built in, but some of the scenes are very simple, and in and of themselves, you know, it doesn't resonate like other literary dramatic works do, you know. You have to think there's visuals and there's sound and there's these characters, and but then, you know, the scenes that Dodie is in with Caligula are longer and more classically oriented, you know. So I like putting things together that typically, you know, don't fit, you know. I like to see what happens when you do that. That's part of deconstructing a work in postmodern theater, you know. But it's the stuff that people go, I didn't understand that, you know. But some of like my best work, I feel, happened. And, you know, when people say to me like, you know, I really didn't understand that, or I didn't like it at all, like these very strong reactions. And then months later they say, you know what, I'm still dreaming about that.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, oh, good. You know, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to get under your skin somewhere, or in your subconscious, or, you know, in that space, that ritual liminal space. And
I like it when people come to me and say they don't understand the piece.
Yeah, isn't it great? Like, what do you mean? You're dumb.
What do you
you
mean?
don't understand
What do you
it.
don't understand it? What part did you not understand? And then you get them talking about it, and then they kind of start figuring it out while they're talking.
Right,
and then
right.
They're like, maybe I need to see it again. I go, maybe you do.
Well,
I like making pieces that are better appreciated the more you watch them, the more you experience it, the more you allow it to
marinate.
Kind of,
and ruminate.
Get in there, you know.
I think one of the reasons why we have this dichotomy between, linear and nonlinear and acceptance and rejection is because people have not been trained. They're trained to be spoon-fed. Mm-hmm. They're not trained to look at work in different context, So if you keep feeding your subscription audiences what they want, and it's just this self-fulfilling revolving door, then okay, that's what they understand and that's what they know, and they know when to laugh and they know when to take out their candy and they know when to clap.
They want their sitcom with the laugh track.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've had some podcast rants about how I don't like being spoon-fed stories.
A podcast rant from you?
Yeah.
Never.
No. Guys, your audience is smarter than you think. Don't spoon feed them. For the love of Bob. Please. Christopher Nolan.
For the love of Bob.
No, I went on a rant about Interstellar, I think, not too long ago.
Oh, yeah.
The movie Interstellar with
yes.
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah. Christopher Nolan has been a target of many, many rants from me on this show for 4 years.
He's a spoon feeder, right?
Yeah, and he's a very, very talented filmmaker, and he's a very good writer, but inevitably, it's been my experience watching his movies that more often than not, he will take the path of not trusting the audience to follow him intellectually all the way to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And
he
it's
cops
sad
out on
because
it.
there's so many things about Interstellar. It's a smart movie. It's very beautifully shot. I love like the black hole sequence. They actually had physicists come in and program the computers with the data.
Super smart.
Yeah.
The movie is super intelligent until the last 10 minutes.
Right.
And then it's like, we've taken you on this journey. I imagine everybody was along for the ride all the way up to that point. Why spoon feed them the end?
The last 10 minutes when she's old, right? Is that the one when the daughter is aged? I thought
finishes
that was
where the daughter's aged.
Yeah.
And he
I
just
would even
kind of
hazard
pulls
it could
out.
have been
But even
cut in the
before
whiteout.
that, all that stuff where McConaughey's talking to the non-existent robot at that point in the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you everything you're watching here. Whereas everything else was super, super smart and kind of you kind of had to follow. You had to really intellectually follow. It was hard.
Yes, it was like, and if you're not a physicist, it was.
Yeah. Now we're going to get to the end, and rather than just have you watch this guy experience what he's experiencing in that dimension, he's narrating the whole thing through.
It's the sugarcoat. Yeah.
And it's like, wait, really? Did you need that icing?
Yeah.
I think they should have cut it at the whiteout. You could have decided for yourself.
Yeah, the whiteout was cool.
If he lived and saved the world, or if he died and we all died tragically.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get so much.
Again.
We're gonna get so much hate mail on this one. People love. My husband loves that movie. We get into such.
My husband's a
big
trained
arguments
physicist, so
My husband's a physicist.
That's so funny. I mean, that's not what he does like daily, but he understood that in a way that we did not.
I totally understood.
I understood it conceptually, but he was like technically telling me about,
How have we never had this discussion?
I don't know. We should go out with our
I was a
physicists.
fraction away from studying astrophysics.
So
that's all I wanted to do right up until I found theater.
That was so awesome. The room, the trying to contact her, and that was a powerful movie.
Until
the spoon feeding.
Until the narration started.
Yeah,
that wasn't necessary.
Well, one of my favorite films is Birdman.
That one's great.
And whenever I feel really bad about the chaos of a project I'm in, I watch it because that was worse than anything I think I've been through. But maybe. But I remember the first time I went to see it, and here in La Jolla, and people got up and left. I was like, I almost got up. My husband stopped me. I almost got up and told them, like, why are you leaving? This is brilliant. The script is brilliant. And, all I can think of is that it was billed as a black comedy. And they literally, linearly thought that it was a comedy with black people. Like they didn't understand the term black comedy. So within like a half hour, they were like a herd of people left.
Well, I find too, there's a tendency in and I'm going to say American audiences, but there's a tendency American audiences to not tolerate very specific pacing in movies. Mm-hmm. They don't like slow pacing, and I'm a slow pace kind of guy generally on my films till the end, and then I'll ramp things up. But like audiences today, they want everything. Fast like the whole time. If it's not fast, they get bored with it. Right,
short scenes, short. And
it's just like
look how books are
marinating. You gotta let things marinate a little bit and sit with something for a little while. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, it makes people very uncomfortable. Literature makes people uncomfortable. Being alone makes people uncomfortable, and if you can't, like, look how books are written now, like very short chapters. They're, there used to be like that device of a long chapter in the beginning and, shorter chapters in the middle and then longer chapters moving towards the end. And now it's like, everything is getting very filmic and visual in that way. And some of it's great, but some of it's just to keep up with the lack of focus and attention, which is what our phones have done to us. They've fragmented us.
It started before the phones, but the phones have definitely accelerated.
Yeah. And if you've got attention issues to begin with too, it's like, like this is not the remedy for ADD.
No, it's not.
The iPhone. Your remedy for ADD. Yeah. The new Ritalin.
I got such a love-hate relationship with the phone because I live on it.
Yeah, we do.
Do all my business on it. And these days...
And when you lose it or when it's taken away from you.
All my spreadsheets are there, and it's not just email and surfing the net anymore. It's all the spreadsheets are there. My Word docs are there. I can write a contract up. I got an app that does talent releases.
Wow.
Right? I don't even have to print those anymore. I just hand the phone over and someone signs it digitally. Right?
That's great.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And organizationally, it helps me so much. But then it's also, I'm always available. Like, people expect to be able to get a hold of me at 3 a.m. Yes, I'm up. But, is that expectation something people should have?
Right.
Where we no longer have a private life.
Right, because our phone is there.
Tethered to
nobody has that expectation of me because I leave mine on the charger and peace out, which I get told I shouldn't do just in case of emergencies, but I don't care.
Yeah, you have to have some
Your colleagues get really frustrated with it. I'll just say that. But I know you'll get back to me eventually. But it's those times when I need an answer fairly quick that gets frustrating. But because I'm so used to it.
And I'm doing something else without my phone.
It's funny when we've taken away our kids' phones. I have 2 daughters, teenage daughters. And, one's 19, college, still a teenager, but the other one's 16. But, oh, God, I remember when we first took away my eldest daughter's phone and she was prowling. Like there was I said, she's an addict. I started to see the shakes and looking around, caged animal. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is...
Yeah, I've got 4 nephews, and we have to watch how much time they spend on those devices.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't, they'll disappear down a rabbit hole on them and not come out.
It's true. It's true.
And it is an addiction.
Yeah.
And you see it with some of them. It's like, hey, and you can't play on this iPad today. Well, what am I going to do? I'm supposed to watch this today, and I'm going to, I was going to chat with my friends on this today. And it's like, well, go read a book.
Right.
Go outside.
Yeah. No. And then we can't be intimate anymore because we're, and then you hang out together. They hang out together and they're texting while they're hanging out together. It's like, oh my God.
I remember 18 years ago, 19 years ago, like sending my dad an instant message from the other room of the house and laughing when I did it. Like, this is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
And now it's just normal.
Right.
It is just normal for people to communicate across a room, via text message rather than actually talk to each other. It's so bizarre.
Eventually we'll cyborg our technology and then it will just be part of us for real.
Yeah, jack it into my temple, then it'll be a different story. But, right now it's like I got to look down and pick up a phone instead of just saying, hey.
And that's where, like, American Carnage kind of looks at too, I think in a not simplistic way, but, certainly starting to tackle the notion that, what are we going to be? And, where is that that boundary between feeling and touch and isolation, really, and how much of our lives are going to be run by artificial intelligence. The National Geographic, The Year Million, was also an influence for me when I started this. I don't know if when I started, but somewhere in the process. But, it's scary, and it's going to be more of my kids' lives than mine, but it's inevitable. And then I'm very interested in that uncanny valley, that space, that uncomfortable space where it's like,
digital's not quite lifelike.
Yeah.
But it's almost there.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
kind of freaks you out a little bit.
Yeah. And that
it's
unknown.
Like you look real, but you have no soul. I can see
exactly.
That.
Exactly.
And it's disturbing.
Right. And I try to deal with that a little in the play, how are the humans more robotic than the robots, and and how will that line and that seam transition work out, like, are we going to just we are sort of becoming more and more detached, and will the artificial beings become more sentient, and then, wow, that's going to be like, and then the place where you don't know, where they become so real. Like right now they're in that valley still where it's like, oh, they move a certain way and, and they move their eyes like 3 times. So, that, it's just not quite human, but that's going to be refined more and more. I mean,
the question for me constantly is AI going to become its own thing that surpasses us, or is it going to become a cyborg kind of, mutual relationship where we kind of merge with all that technology and become something completely different?
Think on this one. What if the body is fully a technological entity, but then you're able to upload all of your memories into something that essentially your consciousness can live on forever, but it's not you anymore, technically. And then you start to question.
Well, that becomes that question of what is you?
Well, what is you? And is there a soul?
Yeah.
I think getting into AI will open up so many questions in regards to human spirituality. And,
Well, it's interesting how angry people get at Siri right now.
Yeah.
Why don't you understand me?
Right.
Because she's just a stupid microchip in your phone, man.
Right. And then we're going to be uploaded.
Well, she should understand
eventually
it's
in
digital. It's going to happen. We're moving that way.
It's really scary. I mean, when you said that about the soul, I just flashed on one of the most influential art exhibits I ever saw was in Vienna. Peter Greenaway, who's a filmmaker. I haven't seen him around. Like, beautiful compositional, painterly filmmaker. But he did this exhibit called 100. What was it? I'm just blanking. Like 100 things, 100 something. Anyway. And it was in like a palace, and it was 100 objects. 100 objects. Yes, that's what it was. And it was fascinating, like absolutely fascinating. Mozart's brain, live people. It talked about sleep, and they were sleeping, shoes that just went on, underwear from different centuries. But one of the things was, where does the soul live and what organ? And they had all these like organ meats encased in refrigeration. And they talked ad nauseum about, where the soul resides in the body. It was fascinating. And then they had a whole other wing, which was elements, earth, wind, fire. But it just made me think of that. I don't know. But the soul, where is the soul going to go? And
well, I think that that's one of those fundamental questions that art gets to explore as the scientists move forward with experiments with not always a lot of thought of the consequences of what they're trying to do. We as artists get to turn the magnifying glass around and kind of go, hey, is this okay? I don't think this is okay. Right. We're off in the canaries in the
coal
cave,
mine.
Right?
Yeah.
So, again, the dates on your play?
American Carnage, a love story, runs from November 10th through the 26th, Thursday through Sunday. Right.
And
Sunday matinees.
And we will put the link to tickets in the show notes for this episode.
That'd be great.
So everybody can have a very easy place to go find that.
Yes. You can get them on my website, fruitlessmoontheaterworks.org or fruitlessmoon.ticketleap.com. And it's Fruitless Moon, one word. And everyone's like, oh, what's a strange? It's from Shakespeare, Midsummer Night's Dream, but right? All one word. Theater works.
Cool. Well, thanks for sitting down and chatting with us.
Oh, it was great. I had such a good time.
So it was a wonderful discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Got really deep here at the end, too.
I know. I can't help myself.
Oh, I love it. I mean, yeah, we have an X in the word intellectual, but
Right.
it can get deep here sometimes.
All right, friends. So come out, check out the play, get a little deep with us, stretch your mind, challenge your mind. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. You know the old saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression? That phrase is incredibly true in our business. In entertainment, your first impression can mean everything. It can mean the difference of booking a job or not booking a job, having an audition or not having an audition. That first impression can get you in the door and make things happen. And for an actor, that first impression is the headshot. First and foremost, casting directors, producers, they're going to see your headshot and they're going to make decisions about whether or not you get seen based on that one image. So it's incredibly important to make that image an investment in your future. And to do that, you want to find the right photographer, someone who's going to work with you to craft the perfect image, the perfect first impression. And I suggest you check out portraitsbypeggy.com. Peggy's been doing photography since the 80s, and she really knows her stuff. And she wants to work with you to craft the perfect captured image, the one that captures the uniqueness of you and helps you book the job. She wants to work with you. She wants to really get into who you are, what sort of jobs you're trying to book, and help you get the perfect image. So check out portraitsbypeggy.com and book your portfolio session today.